Jurassic Park, an adventure 65 million years in the making. Directed by Steven Spielberg, Jurassic Park is one of the most amazing and phenomenal movie to ever been made of all times, and 33 years later, it still continues to capture the imaginations of others for many years to come. It was also one of the movies where CGI really took its course, and while CGI has been around since the 70s, it wasn't until the mid 90s is when CGI really took shape. And Jurassic Park was the perfect example where, during an era, movies that involved animals were made either primarily of puppetries or occasionally live animals, and maybe a few CGI here and there. However, Jurassic Park is one of the many movies that actually broke through the CGI world, where it made the movie not only possible, but also one of the most iconic movies of all time. Even I continue to enjoy Jurassic Park. Spielberg has always been fascinated by dinosaurs ever since he was a kid. His first inspiration began when he watched the famous film King Kong 1933, where King Kong was king of the jungle on an island called Skull Island, where he battled various creatures, including dinosaurs. However, Spielberg was more interested in the dinosaurs than he was of King Kong, which later on in life inspired him to create the film Jurassic Park. Prior to the film's release, there was a novel called Jurassic Park, and after reading it, Spielberg knew that he had to make the film, and he did. However, there were a few complications, but not as complicated as it was when he was filming Jaws 17 years prior. To create many of the most iconic scenes in Jurassic Park, Spielberg and his team worked on computers to create one of the most iconic scenes, such as the famous Gallimimus scene and the Brachiosaurus scene. And at first, everyone was skeptical, as Spielberg had to convince them that CGI will make this movie amazing, as back then, despite having CGI, it wasn't widely used. But after running a test run on the computer, showing the Gallimimus running before it was finished, his team was blown away and knew that this film, with the help of CGI, will be a success. Spielberg wanted all of the dinosaurs to be life-size puppets with movable parts and realistic sounds. This famous scene of the famous sick Triceratops, where Alan Grant, Dr. Sittler, Tim Lex, and Dr. Ian Malcolm, and the lawyer Donald first encountered the Triceratops in the film, which is one of the first dinosaurs to ever appear in the film, and it is also one of the many puppets that Spielberg and his team used throughout the film. Sadly, this is the only time we get to see the iconic Triceratops. While filming, there were some minor issues, such as the rain, which, by the way, most of the film was entirely based on Hawaii, but with rain and humidity and elements of the climate of the island, filming was proven to be a little difficult with the mechanical dinosaurs, much like how the mechanical shark in Jaws had several complications due to salt water, because the film itself was filmed on an actual ocean. But the difference is the dinosaurs did not break down as often. But while filming the famous T-Rex scene, all the rain and moisture caused the foam within the mechanical T-Rex to warp and swell up, and they had to pause the film and shut it down and dry it off just so it wouldn't break down, and of course do some tests and make sure it's okay and resume filming. However, despite that, the iconic T-Rex scene was still very iconic and can keep you on the edge of your seat. Here are a few of the famous scenes where CGI took place. In the famous scene where Alan Grant faces off the T-Rex and distracts it with a flare, was actually digitally inserted. If you look closely, you can tell that he was digitally inserted, where the scene was filmed separately and was actually combined with the help of CGI, giving it a cool and stunning effect. The famous Galloping Mimesis scene was also done by CGI, while most of the scene, such as the Galloping Mimesis, was done by a computer, including Dr. Grant himself, which was probably just digitally inserted. But did you also know they actually used running athletes to help create the scene? Yep, that's right. This is how they were able to get their movement and see many of the scenes that took place. Pretty cool, huh? The famous Brachiosaurus scene where Alan Grant and Lexi and Tim were sitting in the tree observing and were amazed by them were actually digitally created. If you look closely, despite it being in the 90s, it's actually giving off 80s vibe, which is pretty cool and iconic. This was actually one of my favorite scenes when I was watching it when I was a kid. The famous scene of Lex holding her jello as she sees the Velociraptor has entered the visitor center was played by Ariana Richard, and how she got the role is that she auditioned with several girls where she was told to scream at it in a recording. After Spielberg revealed it, he was blown away. Even his wife came in and was seeing what the commotion was all about, but was also blown away, and he knew that she had won the role. Her iconic scream still stuns the world today. She even did a video where she recreated her scene and still got it. The primary goal with these life-size puppets of the dinosaurs was to create better dinosaurs, as in the past, the dinosaurs literally looked like someone was taking a toy dinosaur and just moving around and was entirely a puppet, but you can see that it was obvious. But Spielberg wanted to challenge himself. Although the dinosaurs are puppets, they look so real that people wondered, were they actually mechanics or did they actually brought dinosaurs back to life? The famous and ferocious Velociraptor, although mostly a puppet, is mostly done by CGI, giving it a more realistic and most intense and terrifying effect of all. The famous Dilophosaurus scene, although most of it was done through CGI, the Dilophosaurus was one of the few dinosaurs to rely completely on puppeteers, but still giving it its iconic and ferocious and beautiful and terrifying scene. And we cannot forget the iconic and famous T-Rex scene at the end of the film when it gave its mighty roar, entirely CGI, giving it its most famous and fanatic finale. And of course, the famous sign when dinosaurs ruled the earth fell to the floor, giving it its most iconic look. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and comment your favorite dinosaurs or dinosaur movies. And until next time, stay classy, and I'll see you all in the next video.